Wake up! Today we're going to construct a food web. So today we're learning about food webs, and our learning target is I can construct a food web containing producers, consumers, and decomposers. Today our food web, I won't require you to draw an actual decomposer into the web, but I want you to focus on the producers and the consumers. So producers are usually found at the bottom of a food web. This is an example of a food web. Producers, remember, are plants, and this one has wildflowers and grass at the bottom. Those are just plants, right? So what you're going to do is put your producers at the bottom, and then you kind of build up to the consumers, and then eventually you get to a tertiary consumer. A food web, what it does is it shows how energy is passed from one living thing to another. So these arrows are really, really important. They go in the direction that the energy travels. So the energy from the wildflowers goes to the rabbit, the energy from the rabbit goes to the hawk, right? So eventually, when all of these things die or start to decompose, decomposers break them down, right? So they break down, and decomposers finish the breakdown process for them. We don't really need to put decomposers in here. They're everywhere pretty much, okay? All right, so we have to talk about different types of consumers a little bit here. Our first kind of consumer, the first thing, the first organism that eats the producer is a primary consumer. So we have a primary consumer being a mouse and a primary consumer being a rabbit. We have a secondary consumer, so it's the second thing that receives the energy from the grass. See, one first thing that receives energy from the grass, and then the mouse still has some of the energy from the grass, and the snakes get it, so it's a secondary consumer. And then usually the top of the food web or the food chain is called a tertiary consumer, and it's almost always a carnivore. So today we're really going to learn about food webs. We're going to watch a couple of videos that will help clear things up. So our term is food web. Say it with me. Food web. And it's the many overlapping food chains in one spot. So we'll look at that again together in just a little while. In this part of your notebook today, I would like you to draw a food web. I would like you to include a hawk, a snake, a mouse, a rabbit, grass, and wildflowers. All right, don't forget to number your page. This is notebook page 11. If you want another example, you can go ahead and check our resources in Schoology, and you can see another picture of a food web. So we're going to change gears just a little bit and look at our next learning target that has to do with the food web and try and understand how energy is passed from one living organism to the next in a food chain. So our important term here is food chain. Say it with me, food chain. All right, you guys are starting to sound smart. All right, a reminder here, the arrows in a food chain or food web indicate the direction of energy flow. In this space of your notebook, I would like you to draw a food chain. You're going to include a producer, a primary consumer, a secondary consumer, a tertiary consumer. Really, that's just 4 organisms. Start with a producer and then 3 more organisms. Let me give you an example of a food chain just so that you can see it. This one includes a hawk, right? So a food chain is linear. It goes in a line. The ones that you'll see in the video today also can go in a circle because they include decomposers. I'm not recommending that one for today. We are just going to do linear. So I have the energy goes from the grass to the mouse to the snake to the hawk. It's just a food chain. Just as an example, you also probably want to see if you're like, I can't draw for page 11. If you're just like, I'm not a good artist, I don't like to draw, and I asked you to draw a food web, remember? So with a hawk, a snake, a mouse, a rabbit, grass, and wildflowers here. If you can't draw it, you can just write the names of the actual critters and organisms and just draw your arrows correctly. Okay, when you're done with all of this, you're going to find that there's an assessment that goes with it, and have fun with some of the videos. They're really great. All right, have a good one.